On this week's episode, is this the ultimate game for Super Smash? Holiday gift ideas for bookworms? And what do we take away from the Game Awards? All this and more as we reach our next stop, the PCC Multiverse. And we're back with another episode of the PCC Multiverse. My name is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Stores. We truly appreciate everyone out there listening to all of our programs. But it wouldn't be a PCC Multiverse without my good friend. He is certainly not Jeff Keighley's biggest fan, but he is in charge of Humanica Media. You gotta check out everything today at humanicamedia.com, Humanica Media on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and so much more. It is my good friend. He watched the Game Awards in its entirety. It is Josh Peterson. What's going on, man?
Hey, just trying to get a list out to the good people of all the winners and losers of tonight's Game Awards. Did you get a chance to sit down and watch any of the action?
Oh, wait a second. I'm watching another trailer for another sequel for another game.
Far Cry?
Far Cry, Marvel Ultimate Alliance, the list goes on and on, man. It just Mortal Kombat, but Rage 2, Persona, anyway, and let's not go into it, my friend. It was the Game Awards, about as good as you can probably get for it. I think on the par of all the ones that I've watched in the past, I'd say this one is probably a little bit better than most, but still, I don't have the most favorable opinion of the Game Awards. I think the actual awards that are given out by entities out there that are like, let's say, Giant Bomb, IGN, Pop Culture Cosmos, and others, I think they're more credible than what the Game Awards is, because I think it just comes out way too early. They get, I understand, sneak previews of these games ahead of time, but I'm like, you know what? This is something for January 7th and not December 7th. I think it just comes way too early. I think to me, it's a lot like the Golden Globes. They're already announcing the Golden Globe announcement, their awards, the nominations and whatnot. They're already in the tank. They're already out there and announced. Everybody's talking right now, but I think it comes a little bit too early in the season for my taste. I'd like to see it backed up a little bit and maybe actually played out a little bit more, so that it seems like it's more believable to me when those awards are announced. But we'll go into detail a little bit later about the Game Awards, because I know Josh has his thoughts on not only the winners and losers, but also the major announcements that were made there, because I know there's a lot of trailers that were shown. Yes, a lot of sequels, but some other great stuff as well, and we'll talk about that too on the back end of the show. We also have Diana Tierney and Michelle Levis, our good friends from the Wine, Women, and Words. They're back again for their annual holiday gift ideas for all you bookworms, you book nerds, and all you book geeks out there that love your books. They've got some great tips for you out there. They're coming up here just in a few minutes. And on the back half as well, Jason Todd Feinberg from Hunting Queen. He starts off our process known as the top five of pop culture for the top five of 2018. It's his thoughts on what he thinks is the top five pop culture references, the top five pop culture films, movies, TVs, people, whatever. He's going to talk about his favorite things from pop culture, his favorite top five things from pop culture, coming up here on the back half as well. But first, Josh, this weekend is the last major weekend release for the video game season this year. And that's because Nintendo is releasing what a lot of people are calling possibly the best in the series for the Super Smash Bros. Series. It is Super Smash Bros. Ultimate coming out this weekend for the Nintendo Switch. Reviews are very good, very strong for this particular outing. In fact, it combines all the previous levels, all the previous characters, and are throwing some new ones in there as well, that you could go ahead and battle against each other. seems to be very fast, very well played out, and a very deep adventure mode that gets you 20 extra hours into it as well.
Yeah, yeah, Brian Kane actually just is waiting in line, or he was waiting in line to pick it up when we spoke a little while ago. So I'm waiting to hear how he likes it because we all know Brian from Top Clips tends to be very critical of things. So if he likes something, then it must be worth liking, and if he hates something, it may or may not be worth hating. But um, yeah, no, it looks like a Smash Brothers game. Honestly, it's I don't see anything that makes it stand out. I know the story mode people are excited about, but I'm also hearing that it's not that great. You know, it's okay, but it's not anything people are going, "Oh, this stands out so much." And it seems like they're even like with the announcement at the Game Awards that you know, you could play as the Persona characters, like it's really the only reason to get hyped about this game is just because of the characters. Like it's I don't know what this game is offering that hasn't been done before. And I know Smash is fun. It's just another reason to play Smash Brothers. So do you really need a reason for that? Same reason you play Mario Kart, but you know, it's not something I'm going to be rushing out to buy soon. I'll probably get it after Christmas when I'm done going through this catalog of games I got right now, but it looks cool. Not too thrilled about it. I know we got a little Smash Bros tournament going on here coming up, right? At the Las Vegas.
That we do. It is a Super Smash Brothers Ultimate Tournament. It's part of our holiday charity event on December 15th. That's Saturday, 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. at our good friends at Retro City Games in Henderson, Nevada. If you're in the neighborhood and you want to go ahead and contribute and be a part of the action and the tournaments, either that tournament, the Fortnite tournament, or the Call of Duty Black Ops 4 tournament, just stop on by Retro City Games. You sign up, it's $10 or an equivalent canned food, or new toy donation. All the proceeds are going to the following charities, which are greatly deserving of them. It is the UMC Children's Hospital of Nevada. Also, as well, you've got Three Square of Las Vegas, and also you've got the Make a Wish, the Make a Wish, the Make a Wish, the Make a Wish Foundation of Southern Nevada. All those deserving charities will be part of the process in which we go ahead and donate to, you know, depending if you're going to do a canned food, new toy, or dollar donation. To sign up for these $10 tournaments. Plus, there's going to be prizes that we're going to be announcing next week as far as for the top five, I believe, participants. We're going to be looking at as far as some prizes to give away for those top five entrants that I should say that the winners, as far as whoever wins that comes out on top, the top five that compete in these tournaments will be able to be eligible to get some type of prize too. So we're looking forward to that. It's going to be a great time out there for everyone. There's going to be live music with Hyperschmidt and True Dye. Vedius will also be out there wailing away on his awesome heavy metal video game tracks. So it's going to be a great time, free retro gaming and a whole bunch more. But that's going to be on December 15th. We're going to be enjoying that so much. But getting back to Super Smash Brothers Ultimate, my friend, I will tell you this, that if you do not have maybe one of the previous sets in the many iterations already in Super Smash Brothers, I think at some point in time you should go ahead and pick up Super Smash Brothers Ultimate, because it will feel like you're going to be playing all the previous versions combined, because that's essentially what it is. Yes, there is some little bit new added, like an adventure mode, new characters that are being added, like you talked about with the Persona 5 character, and obviously more are going to be announced to keep it fresh, to keep it interesting. But I will say that it's nice that you have all those previous levels from all the previous games added in there into one big happy family in this game. And I think a lot of people are really just digging on that, and that fact that this is going to be the complete Super Smash Brothers collection. Which brings me to my point. If everything's going to be all said and done when it comes to the entire Super Smash Brothers collective, when it comes to Super Smash Brothers Ultimate, where is there really, where is there to go now for future iterations in the franchise for the next Nintendo or even if it ends up being a sequel that comes out on the Nintendo Switch?
See, that's an interesting question too, because the story mode would have to be very compelling and have to have something that like ends on a cliffhanger to really make want of people go back to it, because there's so much Smash in this Smash that it really does make you wonder, like, is this a last hurrah, which would be weird if it was, but like they packed so much into this game. What is the incentive going forward? Because there's not really a lot of characters that I mean, they even hit up the Belmonts, so, I mean, from Castlevania, so, I mean, there's not really a lot of untapped ground for this game series, which means that, they have their work cut out for them, whoever gets put in charge of the next one 5 or 6 years down the line, maybe sooner, so, that's a very good question indeed, and I honestly until you said that, I had not thought about that in the least, so that's a very good question.
Well, that's like if you were doing like the whole Halos or Gears of Wars all together, you make it all like that, and you've got to think of something. Where else is there to go? So you have to make new iterations in the franchise, and that's what Gears of War and Halo have done because they've had the Halo Master Chief Collection, and then they did redo the Gears of War earlier editions, but they also brought out a Halo 5, a Halo 6, a Gears of War 4. Those are actually coming out, and those have actually come out, and those have been a great part of what's going on with those series to keep it extending. Little bits aside, I think for the most part, those games have still kept the tradition in there as best as possible. So to have Super Smash Brothers Ultimate as a complete set, that to me, it just says that they're going to have to do something totally fresh, totally brand new, revamp the entire style of Super Smash Brothers, and that would be kind of scary if you were a big Super Smash Brothers fan for future iterations down the road, because you're obviously expecting something new and different when the next Super Smash Brothers comes out, like you said, 3 to 5 years down the line. So it's kind of scary where the series might go from here after Super Smash Brothers Ultimate. But hey, you know what? Right now, let them revel in all their glory. It is out this weekend. It is Super Smash Brothers Ultimate. But yes, yeah, saying going to that as far as it is coming out this weekend, but going forward for future iterations, like Josh had mentioned to me, yes, it does help. It does force Nintendo to go into a different direction and to come up with some type of creative, new type of content that's out there that they need to go ahead and develop that will ultimately bring back those people after they're finished playing Super Smash Brothers Ultimate. Because this could be the test for some time to come. Tournaments is going to be used at. This is going to be also used at esports for many years to come, because even today we see with Evo and other video game tournaments that this is a heavily used game out there. One last question to talk to you about when it comes to Super Smash Brothers Ultimate, my friend, and that is, how successful do you think it will be? Do you think this is a game that's going to surpass what we've seen already from Zelda, Mario Odyssey, and Mario Kart, which are the top three selling games of all time on the Switch? Do you actually think this is going to go ahead and not only be able to outpace those games, but also will it drive up the sales overall for the Nintendo Switch?
No, I don't think so, because what you notice about Smash Brothers, including the old ones, Brawl and the Nintendo 64 and all that stuff, is that they're fun, people love them, people talk about them, but then they stop talking about them, and they don't really mention them again unless brought up in conversation, or, there's a new one coming out. With Zelda and Mario Kart, Mario Odyssey, those are games that you can constantly go back to play. Those are games where, you grow like, I'm, as a grown man, like, I still look back on my time with Mario Kart and, Ocarina of Time very fondly, and so those games stick out in my mind, and any chance I get to play them, I do. Whereas Brawl is just, there's not you can jump into and do a few rounds, fight your friends for a few minutes, like, okay, well, this is kind of lame. Whereas Mario Kart, like, you can play forever because there's so many different game modes, and Zelda is so immersive. Like, The quantity of game you get with Zelda and Mario Kart and stuff like that is a lot better, I wanna say, than what you get with Smash Brothers.
I agree with you on that. It is, as far as the quality of game is better, I believe, when it comes to Mario Odyssey and also Mario Kart. I think they do a great job there and always have. Super Smash Brothers still caters to maybe a smaller base, but we're talking still about several million people that are still very interested in the Super Smash Brothers. I just think when they really hit their high notes, it does come with Zelda, with the Mario type Odyssey type adventure type games, and then also adventure platforming type games. And then of course you also have the Mario Kart series, which has been that actually just translates so well because a lot of people, it's not intimidating and people can just pick up the controller and play that and have a lot of fun right away. Sometimes Super Smash Brothers, because it takes a lot of nuance and not just button mashing, it seems like it's more of a game that might be a little bit intimidating for those older players or those that are really not wanting to get into something like a multiplayer centric type game that's really going to intimidate them, such as Super Smash Brothers Ultimate. But the Mario Kart is also more kid friendly. Although I tell you right now, Super Smash Brothers Ultimate is something that I think will also skew towards a younger audience, which I think they're trying to do, especially with the success of Fortnite, as something that reaches a younger demographic. And I think Super Smash Brothers Ultimate, if any game can reach a demographic similar to what Fortnite can, maybe this game could, and top what or at least do as well as as the Mario Kart game previously of last year that did so well. And in fact, that Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is still, it's not even an original true version that has come on the Switch. It's actually just a bumped up version of what we saw before on the Wii U. So we haven't even seen a Mario Kart 9 come out yet that I think will really rock the socks out of people when it actually comes out. So um, any last thoughts on Super Smash Brothers Ultimate?
Yeah, I love what I do really admire about Nintendo when it comes to Super Smash Brothers is that they do reward fan loyalty. They do know what the fans want. They do listen to what the fans want. And yeah, it's cool to see how hyped people get when, the creators come up on stage and they say, "Hey, we got all these characters." And even like at E3, it had a huge trailer, very long trailer, and people were stoked every minute of it. Do you know how hard it is to get someone to pay attention through a 7-minute trailer? So they're doing something right. What the future holds for them, I don't know. They have to have a plan though, because Nintendo is very calculating in everything they do. So, we can speculate all we want, but I think that they do have something up their sleeve for the future of the franchise. And, let's hope that with a game this size that the next one has something compelling to offer.
Let's hope that's the case. But I tell you what, right now, Nintendo's been on a good roll. They brought out four really high quality games in Super Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, the Zelda, as far the latest Zelda, also the also super also Super Mario Odyssey, and now you have Super Smash Brothers Ultimate. Those are four really good foundational games that people can go ahead and play now that they have a Switch. Switch is riding high off of a very good Black Friday to Cyber Monday. In fact, it's the best ever for the Nintendo, and it's the best ever for Nintendo. So following that up, like we said, with a very solid, very highly rated game like Super Smash Bros. Ultimate could be the key to long-term success for at least 2019 going forward, which you and I both know was a problem earlier this year in its selling for the Nintendo Switch, and that's the reason why they didn't meet their goals overall on a yearly basis. But going forward, 2019 going forward, early 2019 might be actually a good time to not only buy a Switch but also be able to play a lot of great stuff because Super Smash Bros. Ultimate just came out this weekend. It's doing very well as far as with the critics, and I see it being a really, really good game for a lot of people, that really want to get into the Super Smash Brothers series that may have missed out on a game before in the series and actually going forward want to become a great part of the esports scene. What are your thoughts out there on Super Smash Bros. Ultimate? Are you excited for it? Do you really want to play it? Are you really thinking about something else when it comes to a great Nintendo game? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Also, as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanica Media, and Game Source on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. Before we head on, before we head on to the break and the wine, women, and words right after that, my friend, did you get a chance to check out the latest Captain Marvel trailer?
I did, and it looks really cool. Like, I don't know why they haven't done a better job of promoting this movie. Everyone's so obsessed with, myself included. We're also obsessed with Avengers, Infinity War. When are they going to put out the next trailer? That I completely forgot Captain Marvel was coming out, and that's unfortunate because this movie looks like it's going to be awesome. It looks like it's going to be everything I was hoping Wonder Woman would be, and I really love the I don't know, the journey into a cosmic side of the Marvel universe that we haven't seen with Guardians. We haven't seen with, really anything else with Infinity War, with any of that. Like, we see, and they have Ronan the Accuser's back. Like, there's just it looks like this movie has so much, and I'm so intrigued by it, and I cannot wait to see it.
I cannot wait to see it either. I think it's a really, really good setup. I didn't like this trailer as much as the original trailer that came out for it, as I really think of the debut trailers, it is one of the better Marvel debut trailers that has come out for it, especially in describing her character and whatnot. I'm really psyched for it. That initial trailer really got me psyched for it. This trailer helped accentuate obviously the trouble and the war between the Skrull and the Kree and how it is going to involve the people of Earth at this point in time and also involve Captain Marvel at the same time. So I'm looking forward to it. It did a good job of accentuating that and help fleshing it out there for help fleshing out the story out there a little bit more for people who are not as familiar. I'm very excited for it. It was an okay trailer, but I just didn't get the kind of excitement for the movie that I initially did with the debut trailer that came out. I'm still very excited to see Captain Marvel. I'm going to be right there first in line to go see it because I think it's going to be a really, really good movie as well. But I'm like you. I know everybody's been on pins and needles for the Avengers 4 trailer to drop. If it does drop on Friday or this weekend, Josh and I will be doing a live stream as soon as possible that we can. We're probably looking at maybe as early as Friday late afternoon, Friday evening for us to go ahead and talk about our thoughts about Avengers 4. So look out for that on the Pop Culture Cosmos YouTube channel. And then you've got our show that'll drop on Monday. If it comes out before then, we're going to be talking about we're going to be talking a lot about that. So let's go ahead and tell you right now that if the Avengers 4 trailer drops, we here at the Pop Culture Cosmos will let you know our thoughts and also make sure that you know where to go watch it and be a part of it as well. Coming up next, you've got Diana Tierney and Michelle Lavis from the Wine Women of Words. They're going to go ahead and suggest their ideas as their yearly picks for the holiday book ideas in that, well, for the bookworm, the book geek, the book nerd in your life that you need to think of and that you need to listen to. Those thoughts, those ideas are coming up right after the break. This is the PCC Multiverse. Coming up right after the break, it's Jason Todd Feinberg from Honeyqueen. He's going to share his thoughts on his top five in pop culture for 2018. The top five for Jason, the top five for Jason Todd Feinberg is coming up next. This is the PCC Multiverse. And coming up next, it is Josh and I. We're going to be coming up next to close out the show. Josh and I are going to be talking about the Game Awards, the winners, the losers, and what exactly are these trailers all about, anyways. We're going to talk about that and more. This is the PCC Multiverse. And we're back to close out the show. Once again, this is Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here. Want to thank Diana Tierney and Michelle Levis from the Wine Women of Words. You got to check out their podcast today that is available on Libsyn.com, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and so many other outlets. And you also got to check out Jason Todd Feinberg. His great show, Honey Queen, is on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and also many more outlets. Got to thank all those three so much for being a part of the show. Check out more what they got again with all their shows at Wine Women of Words and Honey Queen. If you need a listing of where our show is playing, because we're being played on radio stations all around the world 7 days a week and on over 30 different podcast outlets, check our site, Pop Culture Cosmos, at Facebook, where you'll see all the latest news and trends in pop culture there as well. Josh, I know you got a great thing going on with Humanica Media. With all the stuff that we're doing with the charity event on that, you still have time to do some stuff for Humanica Media. So share us your thoughts, man. What's going on with your great experience known as Humanica Media?
Whew, man, I've been working on some stuff, pre stages of some projects. Today we did a video with Hyperschmidt and True Dye, more of a promo video for the Vegas thing, but that's kind of the first piece of original content. And it's funny because as they were leaving, they brought up Ghost Toasters, and they were like, "Hey, we want to finish this because you got us involved in this project 3 years ago, and it has no resolution. We need to finish this." And they're shooting off ideas, so I think we might have a little writers' room session here coming up. But yeah, man. Besides that, there are things in the works, but nothing that's tangible at the moment.
And you also got to check out their show, Topicocalypse, on each and every week on the Topicocalypse Podbean channel, and also when it hits on the Podcast Radio Network every Tuesday night. My friend, I also know you did a review recently. I know we can't share too much in our way of thoughts. We're going to be sharing that on our Monday show, but I think the game is called
Battle Princess Madeline, and yeah, just let me real quick. I won't dive into it, but if you're a fan of 80s nostalgia, then this is a game for you.
And I've also will have a complete review of the GSP 550 7.1 surround sound headphones from Sennheiser. If you think I've been sounding pretty good today, that's because I've been using them throughout the podcast. I enjoyed them thoroughly and I've had a great time using them. I will share more in-depth thoughts on the sound quality, the mic quality, and so much more on our Monday show. I'm going to give you some thoughts and look for my review and Josh's review as well on our sites, popculturecosmos.com, and a little later on popculturecosmos.wordpress.com. My friend, before we head on out, got to give our annual thoughts on the Game Awards. Like I said earlier, I think it does just comes a little bit early. I think it should be near the end of the month or the beginning of next month, which would be the beginning of 2019. But there was a lot of news nonetheless, and a lot of great winners that are out there. Your thoughts on some of the trailers that were out there that were announced at the Game Awards?
Yeah, it was I don't know, man. Like there's a lot of sequels. It seemed like a lot of the show was, an advertisement for Fortnite. PUBG got some time in there. I am Obsidian's new game looks really cool. I don't remember what it's called, but it looks like a mix between Fallout and Borderlands, which is weird because in the wake of Fallout 76, you would think that a Fallout type game. I honestly, I just feel like the post-apocalyptic, theme is kind of wearing itself out in the gaming industry. Uh, but no, it looks interesting. Looks very Bioshocky.
It's called The Outer Worlds.
Yeah. So it looks cool, and I know that Microsoft probably had something in the works with Obsidian before the announcement was made that they were purchasing them, because there's no way that they could get a trailer that looks this great together so fast. So that's really cool, and I'm glad they got that. The other one that I had my eyes on that looked really cool was The Last Campfire. That's made by the, team
Hello,
behind No Man's
hello,
Sky.
Hello Games that made No Man's Sky.
Yeah, and I don't know if it was the, just the way the soundtrack they had playing behind it, but, like, it looks kinda I'm intrigued by it. It looks really cool. It reminds me of, Ori and the Blind Forest. That's why gives me that vibe, and I'm kind of, fascinated by it, you know, and as did you get a chance to check that out?
You'll forgive my lack of enthusiasm when it comes from anything from from Hello Games, especially after the debacle of No Man's Sky, which what 3 4 years ago at the Game Awards when it was first announced, and No Man's Sky was just literally jaw dropping, awe inspiring. I thought it was going to be an incredible ride. I had premonitions and ideas where I thought it was going to go, and fortunately did not go exactly where I wanted to. It's still a better game, much better game than what it originally came out as, but it's still nowhere near the adventure I thought it would be. So I'm kind of like, okay, I have to see it to believe it on the last campfire before I believe it's going to actually be something worthwhile playing. There
Right.
were also other great trailers as well that were out there, like Mortal Kombat 11. A new Far Cry was announced. And what do you know? A post-apocalyptic one that's based off of what people were playing in Far Cry 5. So there were actually a few games out there. Rage 2, another post-apocalyptic game,
Okay,
is sequel for that
while we're
matter.
on Rage 2, I wanted to ask you this. I actually queued this question up for you while I was watching the awards. Do you think that with the cataclysm that is Fallout 76, that Rage 2 has a lot riding on its shoulders, a lot that was never meant to be on its shoulders in the first place?
I think so because the original one had a whole bunch of marketing behind it. It had a whole bunch of hype on it, and it was going to be, at least in Bethesda's mind, it was planning to be the third pillar in the Fallout, Elder Scrolls, and it was going to be Rage. They were going to try and rotate those three because they had a lot behind it as far as what was going to go on with it, and it just fell flat. I mean, their sales on it were initially very strong, but people caught on at that point in time to what kind of game it was and just dropped off from there. So they're trying one more time into the Rage world, so to speak. Hopefully, it'll be a much better type of game, but we've seen this before. This type of, especially this type of game, is more centered around what we've seen with Borderlands, even a little bit of Fallout here and there. It just,
Are
it,
you not surprised that they didn't have a Borderlands trailer? I was kind of expecting it.
I was kind of expecting something like that too. But then again, maybe they balked at it when they saw three other post-apocalyptic games there. There was there was already three post-apocalyptic games already announced, already presented. Yeah, it was a little bit too much on that side, but you know what? It is what it is. There was a lot of games that were announced. There was also Crash Team Racing, a remaster. There was also BioWare teasing the new Dragon Age, and there was some more stuff as well that a lot of people were getting into. I guess the news, not with the Winter of Arcade for Xbox for a whole bunch of smaller games that are bundled together, which you can get a really great deal on. So there was some stuff there that I think a lot of people were liking, but overall, I thought that it was like okay. The announcements were okay, but nothing really earth shattering to me, and nothing that I really thought was just like, oh man, I cannot wait until this game comes out because I think the last time I thought I saw a trailer at the Game Awards that I really said I got to go out and get this game was actually No Man's Sky, and then we know how that turned out.
For a minute, can we just talk about how nobody, probably nobody, a very small percentage of somebody's was like, "Hey, you know what I really want a sequel to? Marvel Ultimate Alliance." That was the one I was not expecting, did not want to see it, did not care about it, and boom, there it was, a Nintendo Switch exclusive, and I think even having, Switch exclusivity is not going to bring many people into the, realm of enthusiasm for that game 'cause it did you ever play the old ones?
I believe I did play the first one. I know I played one of them. I think it was the first one. I will say that I want to make a correction. Death Stranding was also one that I really am interested in that I believe debuted on the Game Awards. So I'm kind of interested in that game. I really think that's going to be out there as far, especially with Kojima into it and all the controversy with Kojima's appearances and everything that went on with him, in previous Game Awards. So I will say maybe Death Stranding and no Man's Sky are the last two to really connect with me. But otherwise than that, it was just trailers that were just okay. It's a sequel to this, a sequel to that, and like you said, with Marvel Ultimate Alliance, it's a sequel that really nobody was waiting for.
Yeah, yeah, no, I agree. And it's weird. I just back on Death Stranding for a minute. I was chatting about this with someone the other day. It's the fact it's not even Kojima and like the legacy that he has and the controversy he's in, but there's the power of three big names behind that game, right? You got Kojima, you got Norman Reedus, and then you've got Guillermo del Toro, and I guess Mads Mikkelsen. But like that, there's a lot of star power in that game. There's a lot of selling points in that game. So whatever happens with Kojima, it's still like there's enough power in that game to move forward, even if he removed himself from the project. So that's what makes that game so interesting. I think that's also the fact that we don't really know anything about it besides what we see in the gameplay trailers.
That's true. That's true. But I'm looking forward to seeing more of Death Stranding in the future. But like I said, it was an okay night, but there was nothing really earth-shattering that I saw coming out of the trailers from the Game Awards, which is why most people watch it anyways. Because, like I said, they don't really take this as seriously as a year-end awards. I think a lot of gamers look towards IGN, Giant Bomb, and so many other outlets that are out there, and they respect their thoughts on what the best games of the year were more than what went on with the Game Wars. But just to let you know, just to get a rundown real quick of the game, of the awards that were announced at the Game Awards. The I guess let's just start with
You got the list out?
yeah, I got the list right here. Best esports game was Overwatch. Best debut indie game was The Messenger. Best student game was Combat 2018. Best multiplayer game was Fortnite. What a shock! Best sports and racing game was Forza Horizon 4. Best strategy game was Into the Breach. Best family game was Overcooked 2. Best fighting game was Dragon Ball Fighter Z. Best AR game, VR game was Astrobot Rescue Mission. Best mobile game was Florence. Games for Impact, Celeste was the winner. Best performance by an individual voiceover was Roger Clark in Red Dead Redemption 2. Best independent game was Celeste. Best audio design was Red Dead Redemption 2. Best score, Red Dead Redemption 2. Best art direction was Return of the Obra Dinn. Best ongoing game was Fortnite. What a shock! Best narrative was Red Dead Redemption 2. Best game direction was God of War. Best role playing game was Monster Hunter World. Best action adventure game was God of War. Best action game was Dead Cells. Game of the year was God of War. So I'll tell you what, my friend, there's a lot of games that everybody seemed to have their little share, little piece of the pie on, which I understand seems to always go that way because it wants to make as many publishers and developers happy with their own little awards, whatnot. Your thoughts on the Game Awards winners? I'm kind of surprised God of War won, even though it is truly one of the best, if not the best game of the year, because Red Dead Redemption 2 coming in with so much hype. I think a lot of people were targeting that as the favorite to take the Game Awards.
Okay, well, let me tell you about this. Have you noticed that a lot of journalists are now backtracking on their opinion of Red Dead? Have you seen that at all?
I know a lot. I think a lot of people. I think I've seen some articles that are like, "Oh, well, now that we've been into it, it's like 60, 80 hours. Well, maybe this is wrong with it. Maybe this is a little bit wrong with it." But you know what? I go by what their initial thoughts were on that, and their initial thoughts were, "This is a very highly rated game. In fact, one of the highest Metacritic rated games of the year." So I'm going to go off their initial reaction. I think they're trying to find some nooks and crannies, maybe to create stories, to create clickbait, what have you. I just think at this point in time, I think it's a really, really good and in-depth game that I think people shouldn't afford to miss.
See, I would agree with you, but in this case, I don't agree with you because I think there's so much pressure. Red Dead was such a juggernaut, and there's so much pressure to like the game that coming out the gate, a lot of journalists felt pressured into liking it, and they got about 8 hours in, like, this is not really my thing." But, back to Game Wars, we can discuss this later, be a King Arthur topic. Um, yeah.
Well, I don't think the God of War. I'm not saying God of War isn't a great game. It might very well be my game of the year. I'm not saying it won't. I'm not saying it will. We that comes up at the end of this month because it may very well maybe. But I'm just going by off of what the reception was with God of War and Red Dead Redemption 2, and both of those two were put on a higher pedestal this year than anything else that has come out. God of War maybe winning, maybe to some, maybe a surprise. That's because Red Dead Redemption 2 came in a lot of hype off the back of GTA 5, scored extremely high, and only got a couple of lower end awards for its trouble.
Oh, yeah, but I honestly feel like God of War does deserve the award because God of War was a has a well-written narrative, a great soundtrack. I know a lot of people are gonna disagree with me, but, I think it's more deserving, and it's more because they took a Red Dead was already established as as a, I guess, a good narrative-driven franchise, whereas God of War, they totally flipped the switch, and they turned it into something that no one ever imagined it could be, and I think that artistically and expressively, like, that deserves a huge amount of recognition because that is no easy task to do, especially Cory Barlog, who, he essentially stripped the game down and brought it back up in a way that really resonates with people who aren't just casual gamers or fans of the old series, but people who are new and approach this game, people who have kids, people who are going through what Kratos was going through, and I think that makes it because the characters are relatable to a lot more people than they are in Red Dead. I think like that's what makes this game pack such a powerful punch. And I do think that it deserves the reward. And I don't think that, a game like Red Dead should be able to win an award on hype alone.
Like I said, I'm either which way. I wouldn't have been surprised. I mean, to me, I think both are right there for game of the year. I see a lot of people voting for Red Dead Redemption 2. I see a lot of people voting for God of War. We haven't sat down and talked about exactly what we're going with our game of the year. So, or if we're going to have separate games of the year or whatnot. But I know we're going to be doing something at this point in time later in the month on one of our shows, Pop Culture Cosmos or PCC Multiverse, to decide that. But I know it's going to come down to pretty much God of War or Red Dead Redemption 2. Maybe a couple more will be thrown in. Spider-Man, perhaps, Super Smash Brothers Ultimate. Maybe a couple more might be tossed in there. But yes, God of War winning isn't to me too much of a surprise. I just know for a lot of people out there and what I've seen on social media reaction that it is a little bit of a surprise because of the fact Red Dead Redemption 2 came in with a whole bunch of a whole bunch of acclaim in and of itself, and unfortunately got beat out on a lot of major character categories by God of War on this occasion. And it could be a precursor for the rest of the month when all these other entities like us come out with our own top 5, our own top 10, our own top games of 2018. You never know. Could be, and it could be the start of a great month for the God of War franchise. What are your thoughts out there on the Game Awards of 2018? Were you really surprised by some of the trailers that came out there? Did you have one in mind that you really thought stood out to you on a game that you're now very interested to find out more about? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Also, did you like the announcement that God of War won the top game award of the year, according to the Game Awards? Did you like that game being picked as number one, or did you think Red Dead Redemption 2 or another game being better than the then God of War. Share us your thoughts, Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and of course, Game Source and Humanica Media as well. All right, Josh, it's been a great show we've had for you. All right, Josh, it's been a great show. Thank you so much for sitting down with me this time and checking everything out as far as our thoughts on the latest news and trends in pop culture. Got another great show coming up for everyone on Monday. Hopefully, we'll be able to talk more about Avengers 4. Maybe it'll drop. Who knows?
Yes, I hope so. I mean, okay, at the Game Awards when Joe and Anthony Russo came up on stage, I was like, "No, they're not gonna put that trailer out right now, are they?" That would have been the raddest thing ever, but no.
It's not big enough, man. Unfortunately, it's only big enough in Jeff Keighley's mind. But don't get me started.
Yeah, yeah, good old Jeff Keighley. He was, yeah. He was, wait, I'm sorry, Jeff Keighley, you might have to edit this out. Jeff Keighley was the guy who was like, "We look up to the Russos." Was that him?
Well, the host of the thing,
Yeah, 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 okay.
he's the one that very well, actually, that's an old reference between, I believe, Halo and he did a Mountain Dew promo spot and all that stuff. And never mind, that's going to be edited out. So, anyways, let's just move on from there. So, for Josh Peterson, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day in paradise right here in the PCC Multiverse. Sorry, Jeff. It's time for us to go. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great day.